Okay, we are live now on the
We are
YouTube
live?
as well as recording as start.
Okay, perfect. So good afternoon, good evening, good morning, from whichever part of the globe you come from. This is the second webinar that we have in the series of webinars we have from the IEEE Census Council for the MEMS training initiative, along with Institute of Smart Structures and System. The last webinar that we had, we gave an introduction of how this whole training will happen and also a small introduction into MEMS as a technology. So today we have two speakers who will go a little deep into what we mean by the concept of multi-process wafer, that is MPW, what it means and how this whole idea of MPW helps in this kind of training. And that talk will be delivered by Dr. Sudhanshu Shekhar from Indian Institute of Science. And the next part, next webinar will be by Kara from Science Foundry. And she will go more deep into the different type of MPW runs that the Science Foundry offers. So to begin with, Sudhanshu, you can share your screen as I introduce you. And you can come on live on video.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Veda, for the introduction.
Yeah. So that's Sudhanshu, and he's part of Indian Institute of Science. He's the technical manager now for leading the MEMS foundry in SENSE, that is Center for Nanoscience and Engineering at Indian Institute of Science. I have known Sudhanshu for more than 10, 15 years now. I've lost the count of number of years I know. Yeah, one of the few people why I'm in MEMS field is actually Sudhanshu. He helped me understand MEMS when I didn't know anything about MEMS. And he's coordinated this effort in India for the last 15 years. I've been part of that initiative, helping him. But he is the expert that we have in this training program. Without taking more of his time, he can introduce himself and talk about himself and about MPW Run in his own talk. Sudhanshu, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Veda. So I don't think you all need any further introduction of mine. Okay, so let me just start with MPW and how you all gonna benefit using this program, which has been organized and supported by IEEE along with ISSS. Let me. Okay, so my screen is visible. Can somebody confirm?
We can see yours. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so hello everyone. Now let's get to know about MPW. MPW is multi-project wafer, as an acronym for MPW. Sometimes it is also called shared wafer process. Okay, it was earlier known as multi-user MEMS process. So what exactly it is? It is a set of well-defined standardized microfabrication processes. When I say standardized, meaning you don't have much of option of trying anything from your side. You have to just follow certain design rules and the processes given by the foundry to get your device done. You will come to know later about standardized processes. Few of them are soy mumps, poly mumps, metal mumps. These are some of the MEMS processes which was developed long back at MEMSCAP Foundry. Now it belongs to Science Foundry. We have Dr. Kara as next speaker and Scott, who will give you more detail or insight about these processes. How can you use these processes for your prototyping and later for small to medium production, medium volume production, in fact. I will be more focused on MPW, how we are gonna, what we do with this MPW activities, the whole process, how it is gonna happen, and how you can get benefited with the activity, which is being sponsored by IEEE, as I mentioned, and along with IEEE. Okay, why MPW? There are certain benefits. First is reduce cost. When it comes to fabrication, it's kind of very cost-effective matters, and it is where many researchers, which we have experienced over the period of time, lack of enough fund or high fabrication cost, they have to either manage their MEMS design activities up to certain extent, okay, just with the modeling and simulation, and they cannot go further because every fabrication run will cost you a lot. As MPW suggests, multi-process wafer. During the single run, many design can be accommodated, and that's how, or you can say shared process, where the fabrication cost reduces. As the wafer is shared between many users, your fabrication cost reduces. This is the biggest advantage of MPW Run. And all these processes are standardized over the period of time. Every step is very precisely defined. So the outcome is, you can think of 90% in terms of yield, which is quite good. And the whole process, runtime, it takes close to 12 weeks, almost 3 to 4 months. By the time you submit your design, in another 3-4 months of time, you will have your devices in your hand which you can test. So turnaround time is another advantage. Third very important is low cost proof of concept, especially for researchers, independent researchers, or I must say startups. They have a very good design and they want really to validate whether this design is going to be work or not. And they cannot gamble their money, okay? First of all, bigger foundries, they don't entertain one or two, pieces, unless you have millions of pieces to be, fabricated. So for them, it's again becomes very challenging. Using this approach, they can send their design and do a couple of iterations. They can check whether is there any room for design improvement at very low cost. So it is said a path to, product manufacturing, especially for the startups and newcomers, where they don't have to spend so much of money in getting their design approved. But the main reason among all this is the focus of the effort can be on MEMS design. Since your fabrication cost is already reduced, turnaround time is also reduced. What you need to focus more on is the design, which is the key. Many times we forget to give time or look on the details. And that was the reason for MPW Run. The starting of MPW Run was this, because user doesn't have to bother about the process. Because when I say, or when we talk about standardized process, that means all the processes have very much tight line. Okay. For example, soy wafer, there you have a fixed device layer. Now, considering that you can tune, you can put more effort in the design aspect rather than looking for the process. So that was the reason for MPW success and coming into the picture. And this is also our interest. And that's why we have started this webinar series focusing on design first, because these processes are well established and you don't have to spend too much money in getting those devices fabricated, and you can test all your device within 3 to 4 months time. So I must say MEMS design is the main focus of MPW Run. And with this, we in India, we also call it community chip. And it was started in the year 2011, 2012 with the help of Indian government. The reason was to help institution, especially academic, who are lacking in MEMS design and fabrication, of course. And it was supervised by a team of professors from Indian Institute of Science to help these institute or the participant from these institutions to get into MEMS activities. So as I mentioned, the vision was and is to motivate students, researchers, faculties to pursue research in the area of MEMS. When we have MPW or community chip activities going around to build a strong MEMS community. So let me know what a community chip is, or now we are going to call it MPW chip as well. So this chip is the size of 1 centimeter square, as you can see. In the given design area of 9 mm square, almost 8 designs, 8 different MEMS designs have been. So as you can see, any participant or user, say, they don't have to pay for the whole run or the whole chip. They're basically being charged only for the design area which they are using. And that way, the cost burden is reduced a lot. This community check activity, in fact, is a brainchild of Professor Anand Suresh, who is our advisor, and we all got benefited with his idea of community chip run. Me, along with Dr. Veda, another colleague, Dr. Sumbuta Khan, we were part of this community chip activities. In the past, we happened to send multiple runs. So as I mentioned, once the idea was conceived, how we can help institutes who doesn't have access to fabrication facilities or characterization, or though they want to involve themselves in MEMS related activities. And that's how this community chip activity started. And our first run was sent in 11. Since it was first run, most of the MEMS devices which was sent was thermal actuator, because it is kind of simple in design, not much effort has to be put apart from modeling and simulation. And our first run, 8 participants were there. As you can see, the same image of our first run. With the success, in the next year, we sent another run, considering other MEMS process, that was poly. That time also we had almost 6 participants, and we sent various designs in the form of microheater, micromotor, micro clipper, varactor, the RF switch, and so on. However, this run was not, can say, a great success compared to the previous run. We got a couple of failures, and that always happens, you know. So the next year, we again sent another run, soy mumps. And this time again, we had 8 participants. And mostly the MEMS devices were considered very much in line with soy process. Soy is very good approach, especially for inertial sensors, like accelerometer, one of the examples, an RF switch, energy harvester, microheater, resonator, thermal actuators. And it was a great success. With the success, we continued for another run that happened in 1920. This time, again, we had a good participant and range of MEMS devices. As you can see, there are almost 8 participants and a range of MEMS design, all been accommodated in a single run. Now that we are going ahead with another run in support with IEEE SC, and we would like to invite you all to take part and get benefited at large. So these are some of the devices and their SCM. As you can see, will give you confidence about this activity and what all devices you can realize. Like here we have accelerometer, this is a gripper, this is boom drive actuator. Then we have another accelerometer with DACM, then other V-beam thermal actuator, U-beam thermal actuator, and so on. Just to give you an idea what all device you can achieve using SOI MEMS process. In later part of this webinar, other colleague of ours, Dr. Samudha Khan, will talk in a great detail about what all things you need to keep it in mind when you are going to design any of the device. So please do attend and give extra attention, because that is all going to be about the process. Okay, so how IEEE and IEEE is going to be a support in this MPW activities? As you can see, MEMS development flow. It is not just the fabrication. Equally important part is design and testing. Many times, user just come with some fancy design and they get their device fabricated. That's a mistake. That way, you can save your time and energy. And that's why design is being given a very important place or crucial role to play in the success of any MEMS device. Many a times, user or the participant say they have fair idea about designing, they have done modeling, simulation, they have studied on fabrication also, they have got their device, but what kind of measurement, okay, to validate the functionality of their device, that also to give some attention. What we are going to do is we are going to help on all these three aspects. If someone needs help with the design conception, how to model it, we help them. For their design, what is the most feasible or suitable process? We help them there so that they can opt for the right process. And once the device is being fabricated, shipped to them, we can also help them with the testing. Of course, we are not going to do the testing, but definitely we will guide them where these devices can be tested, what sort of testing is required to check the functionality. So in this way, IEEE, C, and IEEE is going to support in these activities. Apart from that, we are going to help them, especially the student faculties, okay, we'll reach them and make them aware, give them foundation course as we have already started. And it's overwhelming to see the number of participants. Okay, we have close to 400 odd participants. So, and that was the idea, like, okay, to train them with the MEMS design fundamentals, various way of fabrication techniques. And once they are through with their courses, we have ask them to submit their design. We, along with our colleagues, will check those designs, especially the feasibility, whether some kind of intervention is needed, some improvement is needed. We will help them to make sure the chances of getting working device is good. So as I mentioned, we have already running this foundation course, which is in progress. By the end of this webinar, MEMS technology training program, we have requested all the users to submit their design considering SWI MUMS design rule. I'm emphasizing SWI MUMS design rule because this run is mostly focused on SWI MUMS. In upcoming webinar, Dr. Samudra will be talking in more detail on this design rule, SWI MUMS design rule. So that will help in making your design correct. Of course, we are going to check all those designs before sending for fabrication at Science Foundry. We also have an option to submit these designs at Sense Foundry, where similar MPW Run dedicated to SWI MUMS. So with this, I will end.
Thank you. Thank you, Sudhanshu. That's great. I would request all the participants to start putting in their questions in the chat, and we will take that up at the end, whatever questions you have. Just to correct a little on what Sudhanshu said, now from Science Foundry, it's no more called as SOI MUMS, it's just SOI. So that's a small change in the terminology that they use, but everything else is similar. And as Sudhanshu said, the next webinar will be dealing this more in detail, and we will talk about the technical aspects of the design rule in the next webinar, which is going to happen on 14th November, same time, by my colleague in Tyndall, Sambuddha Khan. The next speaker for today, Sudhanshu, you can stop sharing, and Kara, you can start sharing your screen as I introduce you. So Kara is the Foundry Director of Science. She's also the lead engineer in the Foundry. She has immense experience in process fabrication. And I think I should let her speak and give more time to her than me speaking all the time. So Kara, the stage is yours, and we'll take the questions later.
Awesome. Sounds great. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. As Veda mentioned, my name is Kara Zappatelli. I'm the Foundry Director and Lead Engineer at Science Corporation's MEMS fabrication facility. I am very excited to be here to discuss the capabilities and offerings that we have at Science Foundry and how they may assist you in your MEMS work. I want to give a special thanks to Veda and the IEEE Sensors Council for organizing this really great series. And yeah, let's get started. Just going to the next, there we go. All right, so Science Foundry is a fully outfitted MEMS foundry facility. We're located in Durham, North Carolina. We currently have about 5,000 square feet of Class 100 cleanroom space, in addition to a few other auxiliary lab spaces. We operate under an ISO 9001 manufacturing certification, and our company in general has a really strong commitment to quality management from the top down. We're currently tooled for 150 millimeter or 6-inch wafer size, and we offer both start to finish custom MEMS wafer processing, as well as a series of multi-project wafer runs, which I plan to go into more detail on later in my talk. Our fab has a really long history in the world of semiconductor and MEMS manufacturing. So it started as the Microelectronics Center of North Carolina, or MCNC, in the 80s after funding was received from North Carolina's General Assembly. In the late 90s, MCNC spun off a MEMS unit called Kronos. Shortly thereafter, Kronos was purchased by JDS Uniphase. And then shortly after that was purchased by the French company MEMSCAP, which ran production here for almost 20 years. So in 2022, Science Corporation purchased the fab from MEMSCAP and shortly thereafter launched what we call Science Foundry. We have more than 80 tools that span a wide range of wafer fabrication capabilities, including wet and dry etching, metallization, optical lithography, LPCVD, and more. In addition, we possess both back-end processing and metrology capabilities to support the manufacturing of wafer-scale MEMS devices, from bare wafers all the way to singulated die ready for packaging. In addition to traditional MEMS fabrication techniques, we also have extensive experience with polymers and other materials that are somewhat less commonly found in production facilities, so that we can more broadly meet the needs of the growing MEMS industry. We're experienced in making all kinds of MEMS devices. Our customer base spans a wide variety of industries and applications, anywhere from biomedical devices to industrial sensing, optical telecoms, IoT, and beyond. Our size uniquely positions us to dedicate specialized attention to each of our customers, and we engage very closely with our customers throughout their development cycle to ensure that they have a seamless transition to production of their devices. We engage with customers in two primary ways. The first is through our set of standard technologies, which are standardized fabrication processes with open source process documentation. Most commonly, these are run as multi-project wafers. They allow rapid iteration on prototypes to help customers fine-tune their designs. In addition to those standard processes, we also run start-to-finish custom processes with the goal of scaling customers to production. Our standard technology multi-project wafers are an exceptional option for those wishing to prototype quickly on production quality manufacturing line. Individual users essentially purchase a number of die sites on a wafer run and submit their designs to run alongside other users through a series of fixed process steps. These shared runs allow us to keep individual costs low, making these processes more accessible for prototyping and design iteration. We host multiple scheduled runs throughout the year and have shipped hundreds of thousands of devices for more than 200 process runs to date. The standardized nature of these processes not only allows us to keep costs lower, but also decreases overall cycle time to get devices in the hands of users much faster than a custom development engagement. Our set of standard technologies includes an SOI, or a silicon on insulator process, a polysilicon process, a piezoelectric process, and a thin film electronics process that currently has two different flavors. For each of these processes, we have streamlined PDKs, or process design kits, located on our website that essentially take you through the full process flow, all of the design rules and definitions in detail, so that you can ensure that your design fits within the appropriate bounds. In addition, we also have an online customer ordering interface that gives full visibility on our pricing and additional options, and allows users to basically upload their designs directly for processing. While most of this is automated, our team is also always available to answer questions and support users during the submission process. Our most popular MPW is our SOI process. So this process consists of a 25 micron device layer and involves the use of 4 photomasks and 2 metal layers, enabling simple suspended devices for a wide variety of applications. I think you saw a lot of those in the previous talk, which was really great. So this process we run 3 times per year, and it has about a 10-week cycle time from start to finish, so relatively quick. As I mentioned earlier, our detailed layer descriptions, layer properties, and step-by-step process flows with clear cross-sections are located on our website so that you can quickly determine whether or not that process will work for your application. In addition, we provide all of the necessary design rules and guidelines, including multiple color-coded diagrams, in order to set users up for success on their first run and to assist in the layout process. It is worth mentioning here that MPWs in the MEMS world are significantly more complex than in the integrated circuit industry due to the 3D nature of MEMS devices and just the sheer magnitude of the design space. So while we have, run these processes for decades, we still occasionally come up against unique design-related challenges. Our design rules are primarily meant to protect our tool set and other users' devices, and our design guidelines are meant to give your design the best chance of a successful tape out on the first go. Our most complex MPW offering is our polysilicon process, which consists of 8 mask levels, 3 polysilicon layers, and 1 metal layer. This was our first established MPW process, which was first introduced in 1992. Doping of the polysilicon layers allows for essentially complex routing and movable suspended layers for a number of different applications. Because of its complexity, we run this process roughly once a year, and it has an 18-week cycle time. Our newest, what I would call traditional MEMS MPW process is an aluminum nitride piezoelectric process. So this one, while on the newer side, has gained a lot of popularity as the prevalence of piezo MEMS devices has skyrocketed over the last few years. We run this one 3 times per year also, and it has a cycle time of about 14 weeks. The process consists of 5 mask levels and multiple metal depositions to create piezo devices for a number of sensing applications across multiple industries. So upon acquiring the fab, Science has introduced a new standard technology that we call thin film electronics. So this process, which consists of a metal routing layer sandwiched between 2 flexible polymer layers, forms the backbone of a lot of our internal medical device work. And we decided to essentially open that process up to external users as well. We don't run this one as a true MPW like the others. However, users can purchase full wafers of their designs, run through that standard process at a reduced cost. So this process is really great for creating flex cables or interposers and is also useful for flexible neural interfaces. We've recently released a much more complex variation of that process where we've integrated multi-layer routing. So instead of 1 trace layer, you can now have multiple. You can add optional micro LEDs for things like optogenetics. And then we've also incorporated electroplating for increased robustness during the integration of integrated circuit components. So we run this one similarly to the standard TFE process on an as-needed basis at the per wafer level. Cool. So while our standard technologies are a great option for fast prototyping and design iteration, they certainly do not meet the needs of everyone. They're likely to be outgrown quickly as your MEMS device matures and your requirements become more stringent. Because of this, we also offer fully custom wafer processing to help customers scale their well-defined device designs into production. So this option is primarily meant for those who've exited the proof of concept phase and are ready to start manufacturing their devices at larger scales. So our sort of pathway to production starts with a feasibility review where our engineering team will go in and review your device and your process flow in pretty extensive detail to determine whether it fits well within our capabilities. And then assuming it does, we move into a development phase where we conduct a series of short loops and at least 3 full wafer runs in order to fine tune both the process and the design as it pertains to our tool set and the overall manufacturability of your device. In that development phase, the primary aim is to fix both the design and the process. Once we've done that, we can move into what we call a pre-production phase, which is where we run a few runs to collect a large amount of data on the fixed process in order to prove the process can run reliably without engineering oversight and the normal process variation meets the allowable specifications. After we do that, finally, we move into production where we would essentially provide wafers or devices to the customer at a well-defined yield criteria. Sorry. With agreed upon specifications and at volumes anywhere from hundreds to thousands of wafers per year. Okay. So in summary, Science Foundry has a wide range of capabilities and extensive experience across multiple industries and applications. So whether you're looking to prototype a MEMS device on an MPW run or scale one to production via custom development, we would really love to partner closely with you so we can help you realize the full potential of your technology. Please reach out to us if you have any questions or would like to discuss your technology pathway. Myself and our VP of Sales, Scott Smizer, can be contacted directly, or you can reach out to us via our Foundry email. In addition, please check out our website because you can get a deeper look at everything I've introduced today. Thank you. With that, happy to
thank you, Kara. That was wonderful. So we can take questions. Any questions that you all want? I see one question there that's more to me. Thanks for your presentation. Who will pay the expenses for MEMS fabrication for each user from France? Should we be part of the expenses? If you're part of this training, which is why you're in Zoom, then the Sensors Council has allocated funds for fabrication. So you don't have to pay anything. You just have to attend diligently and understand the whole process. And it's one round of fabrication is free. In fact, I didn't expect this overwhelming response. I didn't expect that these many people to register. So I've requested the Sensors Council for additional funding. So we can submit, we will be submitting 2 masks in the next year, July submission. So to answer your question, in short, you don't have to pay if you're part of this training, but if you're going and getting your devices fabricated outside of this, then you need to find funds to fabricate. What about the design tool? Design tool, we did not, I had told this in the flyer as well. You need to, as part of this training, one of the eligibility criteria was that you should have access to any of the design tool, any of the multiphysics tool. So that we are not providing any licenses to anyone. What sort of files do we need to submit to have our devices fabricated? Is it GDS file of the layout enough? Yes, that's exactly what we need. You will need to submit the GDS file. We'll come to that next year. As part of this year training, you will be even trained on layout tool to submit the design. And the submission should happen to Sudhanshu and me. And we will collate all your designs and put it in one mask before sending it to Science, where Scott and Kara will actually be running their own check before taking it to the foundry. Does IEEE support piezoelectric MEMS structures? So IEEE is like IEEE. It's a society by itself. So we don't have our own foundry. But Sudhanshu, do you want to take that question? Sudhanshu, are you there? Sudhanshu, if you're speaking, you're muted.
Okay. Yes, so this run is dedicated to soy. Okay, so piezo, we may be looking at it in future, depending on number of participants. But for this run, as you mentioned, We are taking it for SOI because someone has mentioned like who is going to pay the cost for the fabrication. Okay, so this time we got support from IEEE. Okay, and with the success of this, we'll see how IEEE or ISSS is going to help us with the funding, and then we will look for other runs as well. But at this moment, I'll let participant know more focus on SOI.
Yeah. So that also answers the latest question we have. Piezoresistive? No, it's purely capacitive. What we have, it's not piezoelectric, it's not piezoresistive in this run. In fact, in the MPW run, Kara and Scott, you can answer. Do you have anything on piezoresistive? I don't see that. Kara, you want to take that? You're muted.
We don't currently. So our piezo process is relatively new, but
yeah, and it's piezoelectric, not piezoresistive.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So there is a question: Is it that we should target some specific MEM devices? Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, Veda.
Yeah.
About the previous, I think, question about the piezoresistive micro cantilever can be fabricated. It can be fabricated at Sense Foundry, okay, where I'm also taking care of these fab-related things, okay. So,
yeah, but it can't go into this stream.
No, it won't be a part of MPW or
yeah,
yes, which we are offering. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to answer Sumit's question, you have seen from Sudhanshu's presentation today the different kind of devices that were fabricated as part of the SOI MEMS cap process. Those are the kind of devices you can fabricate. So inertial sensors, inertial devices, thermal actuators, and those kind of designs are what you can fabricate devices. We get training on COMSOL. I don't know if you're already started attending, Mohammed, the different training sessions. If you have started attending, you would know that they are actually training on COMSOL and similar kind of multiphysics tools. So you will also, if you are, I don't know from which nodal center you're attached to or which chapter you're attached to. If it is Europe, my own student will also be starting to train you on MATLAB as well as COMSOL in the weeks to come. Does your support electrofield structure or sensor fabrication? I don't understand electrofield. If it is electrostatic actuators, yes, it's part of the SOI process. We do have electrostatic actuators. Yeah, you can make inertial sensors. So yes, sensors fabrication is part of the SOI process. So Dinesh said he'll be in touch with you, Sudhanshu, so you have a customer there. And anything else anyone else has? If not, Kara, I have a question to you and Scott. I don't see in your on your website a whole schedule of different runs. Where do I find that? So that people can actually submit their designs looking at your Foundry schedule of design submission. I only see the next schedule happening in November, so-and-so, or so in July, and so on. But how do we see the whole year's list of scheduled runs?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we currently only have the next run listed. We have a document that we distribute, so I can send that to you. But we could also look into just having that posted clearly on the website so that people can plan ahead.
Yeah, that would be very useful because then people can plan their submissions accordingly. Yeah, so if you send it to me right now, I can send it to all the registrants, but having it on the website is very useful.
Yep, absolutely, can do.
And the second question I have is, we are planning to target the July 2025 run. And July, what is your deadline date in July? Can I know the date?
That's a great question. Let me look it up and get back to you.
Okay, perfect. I start taking the other questions that we have. Can we design sensors in MATLAB, say, for example, capacitive or thermal sensors? You can definitely design thermal actuators, and that's what my student Suman will be taking through for the European section. Sudhanshu, will you also be designing something on MATLAB in your runs? Otherwise, I could have my student come to all the different nodal centers and make him train.
Yeah, so not on MATLAB, but COMSOL. Yeah, we will be
okay.
mostly
So what I can do is
COMSOL. Yeah, because what happens sometimes, like okay, in MATLAB, you can have 2D, okay, 1D and 2D you can do, but what happens like your main structure is going to be 3D, or sometimes even with the COMSOL, you may not actually get the exact result, but most of the simpler MEM structures can be realized, and up to a certain extent you can rely on those simulations. So yes, we are more focusing on COMSOL rather than MATLAB.
Okay, so what I can do is I'll suggest my student Suman to come to all the 5 different chapters and nodal centers session, one of the sessions, and talk very briefly on the MATLAB code, so that whoever is there, they get a hands-on on MATLAB, and we also can distribute the MATLAB code to all the
right. If we have a good number of the participants and they want to learn more on MATLAB, sure, we will. Okay, we can offer that.
Yeah, sure. So I will have that discussion. I think having MATLAB code to all the participants will be useful. Can you give us some example of mumps mass for electrostatic accelerometer in advance? I don't understand why you need anything in advance, because we will be actually training you on some of the accelerometer designs as part of the training. So giving you anything in advance will actually only hinder you to understand more in detail. So please have some patience. Your nodal center will actually help you to understand even analytically the accelerometer designs. In case of some reasons, one does not have access to COMSOL, are there other open source? No, we don't have any open source. And this is exactly the reason I told as an eligibility criteria that you should have access to one of the multiphysics tools. There is no open source. How do we obtain license of multiphysics tool? Are there free versions? No, there are no free versions. If you are in India, the government of India has iSTEM portal, and through iSTEM portal, they allow any educational institution to have access to COMSOL. But if you are not in India, then I'm sorry, you'll have to purchase the license. Are we going for pressure sensors? Yes, Sunil, we can have pressure sensors as well in SOI MUMS process or SOI process that we have now. MATLAB, just like COMSOL, so can MATLAB replace COMSOL? No, MATLAB cannot replace COMSOL, but it can do an approximation of the design. It will give you more mathematical analysis as against the complete physics analysis of the results. So it cannot be a replacement, but it can be an approximation. Will fabrication of microfluidic devices be supported? No, this is completely an SOI process, so it does not support microfluidic devices. If you need microfluidic devices, please contact Sudhanshu separately. He has access to that process in SENS IAC. When do we know that, where do we belong to a specific cluster? I don't understand you mean by cluster to which group. Mohammed, you can explain to me in the chat what you mean by cluster. I will be talking about how we are going to divide you into different groups for design submission. If that's what you are talking about, I will be telling that in just some time, as soon as I answer everyone's questions. Thank you, Sudhanshu, sir. I'll be there in touch. And yeah. Veda madam, please make arrangements for MATLAB session. Yes, we will make. I'll make arrangements for MATLAB session for my own student. Through iSTEM, how? COMSOL through iSTEM, how? Can you send me a separate email, Sudeep, and I will connect you to the person and help you with access to iSTEM portal and get access to COMSOL. Please send me a separate email on that. Pardon about COMSA license in Government of India. Again, whoever is from India and does not have access to COMSA and is from academic institution, please send me an email. I will connect you to the person who can help you get access to it. Okay. So, yeah. So what I will now explain to you is how we'll have the design submission. And this is what I have in plan. We will be dividing all the registrants into different groups, smaller groups. And in each group, there will be a few of y'all who understand MEMS in advance. These are students from the nodal centers who have their professors teaching them on this technology. And there'll be few others who do not understand MEMS and who are new to MEMS technology. So what will happen is there'll be few students, say from India, few students from Africa, few students from Europe in the same group. And you all will be connected by us, the working group, that's the nodal centers and the chapter, and you'll be made to work in coordination. To each group, you'll have a mentor attached. One of the nodal center or the chapter chairs, or including me, I can be one of the mentors. And we will handhold you for your design submission. This way, what we plan is that you get into a mode of collaboration. You get into a mode of understanding how, even being in different parts of the globe, you can still work together and understand and help each other. So each design will be truly global, truly international, truly transcontinental, truly trans-institution. And then the designs that get submitted will hopefully, and I depend on Science Foundry people here, Kara and Scott, and let's hope that we get 100% yield and all the devices end up working very well. That's the ambitious nature that I have. And let's say in 2 months, we have 100 devices fabricated from 100 groups. And we'll have 100 publications coming from it. And each publication will be global, transcontinental. And so that is my aim, to see a real global chip coming out of this educational activity. Now, do not hesitate to talk to people across the globe, and do not hesitate to come back to me for any queries that you have. So in the weeks to come, we will be dividing you into groups, and we will be giving you a mentor for each group. So that's the ambition, that's the plan. How about characterization of the structure? Do we get the dice structures for the same? I did not plan to dice them because that will cost me extra. Instead of that, I plan to not dice them and use the money for getting more and more mass submitted. The idea is that each region, we have 5 regions, each region will get about 5 dice, and we will not be funding your testing because we don't know what kind of devices you end up submitting. But we can tell you in your region where you can go and get it tested. You need to find resources to go and get it tested. Alternatively, if you did not find a place where you can go and get tested, we have alternatives from ISSS. And Sudhanshu will help from Indian Institute of Science through ISSS. And we also have another institute in India, BITS Pilani, Hyderabad campus, who also have excellent characterization facilities. They also have volunteered to help in characterization. In fact, that will be the last webinar in this series that I have in December, sometime mid of December, before we close for the Christmas break. We will be having a webinar on testing and characterization of devices as well. So you will get help in some fashion to test, and we'll make sure that all devices are tested. Can non-ISSS students do the registration? I don't understand why non-ISSS students. ISSS is not a university. Now it is, you mean non-ISSS members? No, most of the people here, 99% people here, I would say, are non-ISSS members. They are all participating. So I don't understand that question from you, Sudhi. So this is what I had in mind on our design submission. In the weeks to come, in might be next 2 weeks, you will be divided into different groups, and we will help you through understanding how the design submissions will happen. And And the feedback I'm getting by going to different sessions is that the training is going on well. How about the IP regarding the structure? I had told this very clearly in my email. We do not deal with IP issues. It's purely an educational activity. Whatever designs you put in will be available for the whole set of registrants of this course. So we will not deal with any IP issues. That is very clear from IEEE and from IEEE. So that's where the clarity is. Yeah, thank you for all the great feedback that I'm getting. I know we will be learning. There'll be a lot of hiccups on the way. This is our first time we are taking it global. And we look forward to feedback, constructive feedback, even critical feedback on how we can change and style of functioning, because might be this will become a regular activity of the Census Council and IEEE hand in hand. We also plan to do might be next run in the piezo structures, not GSOI, because as Kara said, there is a huge demand for piezo, and I myself am interested in it as well. So we'll see how this goes by July. And Kara, you can send me an email about the whole schedule run and what date in July we need to submit the designs. And also you can tell me, once it's submitted in July, when is the device going to be fabricated and when it will be available for testing. So if these dates are known, so we can plan accordingly.
Yep, absolutely. We're still finalizing the 2025 schedule, but I'll try to get that to you within the next week or so.
Yeah, thank you. And what I also want to tell to all the registrants here is that we'll be running a design contest once you all submit the designs. This design contest will be independently judged by a body which is not part of the Census Council or part of IEEE, who are not part of any of this, any of you. So it'll be an independent experts from the real Ivy League schools in the world. And they will be giving the best design award sometime in June next year. So May is your design submission deadline to us, to Sudhanshu and me. And then in between May and July, Sudhanshu and I will be trying to collate these designs and running the design rule check. And independently, the body will decide on the best design contest. So you have exciting things coming up. So stay tuned. And the next webinar I'll have is on 14th of this month and then 22nd of this month. So 2 webinars in November. That's what we have. So that's it from me. I don't see any more questions. Scott, Sudhanshu, and Kara, thank you very much for being part of this initiative and giving this wonderful talk today. And we will be in touch, and we will try to help all these registrants as much as possible.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Veda.
Thank you, Veda.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Veda, can I end this session now?